Hi, I am author S.C. Vincent, writer of several science fiction, fantasy, and horror books. You can find me on Amazon.com. If you just type in S.C. Vincent, you'll see several great books, such as The Sakura Element, East the Fallen, and The Arcadian Destiny. And you can even find some of my short stories where I've been published. If you just type in my name, go to my books, check them out. Leave a review, share them with your friends. I would greatly appreciate it, and enjoy the video. Hey guys, it's me, author S.C. Vincent, and today I wanted to talk about anthologies. So recently I've written a new short story, and I've been looking at the marketplace, kind of, applying to, submitting a lot of my story to a lot of publishers, right? And I've been looking at the marketplace, like I said. And I couldn't help but notice how much the publishing scene for indies in the traditional sense has changed over the last couple years since I last was published in an anthology. So the last time I was published was in this right here. It's called Night Terrors by Scare Street. I'm probably like the third story in it. It's the story was called The Girl with Peculiar Taste. It was a vampire story. And I can't, so kind of what I'm seeing is like there's less and less companies or anthologies, should I say, to submit to. I remember when I used to look at these, the marketplace, like I said, there was an abundance of magazines or, anthologies. And it seems like a couple years later, now that I've gone back to it, a lot of them have kind of gone out of business or just disappeared. Like I'm every month, I check back in to see if there's a new thing to submit to, and it's like less and less. So it really kind of had me asking like the anthology question, if that marketplace is really healthy, and if it's really good for people to kind of get into. Excuse me. So in theory, anthologies are good for, I think, especially beginner writers like myself. Although I've published a few things, I still consider myself early in my career and a beginner writer. And the reason why these anthologies are good is because even if you never get these stories published, they're good to help you hone your craft. In my opinion, being able to write a coherent story, short story, is good practice, so you can write to the point and write well, quick, in a quick manner, not in real life quick, but say in 5,000, 7,000 words. Kind of whatever a short story is defined as. If you can write a good story under 10,000 words, that's like a short story. That helps you hone your craft. So when you write a novel, you're able to get your point across, and also have room for the artsy stuff, and be able to get more out there in kind of a more intelligent way. That to me is kind of one of the big takeaways from being able to write short stories well. And it's a big plus if you're able to get published doing so. And the reason why is because if you're able to get paid in any way for your work, that helps you get some sort of credence, some sort of, what's the word? I don't know. esteem. People will look highly upon you if you're able to get published uh, in, in some paying market. Um, some people will do that. You can help. It can help put your name out there as a writer, um, to say that you've been published, you've been paid for your work. Some people put a lot of. Uh, they care a lot about that stuff, and however much money you get paid as a writer is good, because most writers don't make profit. They don't make money. Um, that's just the truth of the matter. Um, so so it's good for getting practice, and it's good for getting some money, a small amount most of the time, and it's good for um, your name as a celebrity, or just as a writer out there, that helps you kind of make connections, helps further your career. Um, so maybe if your name's out there as a short story writer and you're trying to pitch to an agent your novel, maybe they have heard of you, uh, or it helps add to your name. Maybe you can say, "Oh, hey, this guy was published before. Um, he might be able to write something good, so maybe we can sign him." Some people, I think some agents, I've never had an agent, but maybe some agents think that way. Pardon my voice. So those are some good things about anthologies. But then you kind of ask the question that I was asking: why are anthologies kind of dying out? Why are magazines kind of dying out? Even compared to the last 3 or 4 years. And I did kind of write some notes, so if it comes off a little stale, my delivery more than usual, then forgive me. But I have to say, although the author does make a small amount of money, typically when they're traditionally published, um, these magazines, these anthologies, tend to make very little profit as well. The reason why is because they're paying authors in some way, but most people are not reading books like this. There's very few that succeed and last. Most of the time, they just go out of business. It's the same reason why the most successful authors are the ones propped up by big like traditional companies. People just don't read anthologies anymore. Usually that's why the most successful anthologies tend to be genre, like horror. Like, horror is a big anthology scene, and that's what my news stories I'm pitching, and even I'm seeing a decline in the amount of works to submit to, a marketplace to submit to. And I think part of it is, like I said, the marketplace for reading anthologies just isn't there for the most part. It's hard. I can't really explain that too much. Just the reader base isn't there. And I would also have to say it's difficult to find. I mean, the fact that there's no one reading them has caused them to become harder to submit to. So I have, let me look at my notes here. So, but the very fact that anthologies are a pro for you to submit to in terms of money, it's kind of a con for them, because they're not making much money and they have to pay you. It's kind of a catch-22 for them. So you also have to keep that in mind. Because of this scarcity and the amount of anthologies or things to submit to, the kind of marketplace has changed in the fact that they become less physical, and they become more digital. They become audio, or they be like podcasts, or they become literary magazines. Anything to kind of keep the price down on their end. Um, if possible, they're trying to do. And I think a lot of authors really like the material aspect, because it has to them like a artistic integrity, or it has a nostalgic thing. So they really don't want to submit to digital only, even if they get paid. Um, I think that's at least where I come from. Um, I would never release a book without a physical copy of the book. I would never submit my story to a magazine, or without having a physical copy of the magazine. Even if it's just like on Amazon, like print on demand, that's okay with me. And I think a lot of other authors feel the same. Some don't. Um, but I think that's kind of, why maybe some of these magazines are getting some stories that maybe they're not good, or they're not getting a lot of submissions that people care about. Because all in all, by the end of the day, or at the end of the day, people want to read good stories, and good writers have high expectations. They want to have a physical copy, I think, is one thing that they're going to be looking out for. It's just one thought. But because of like I said, going back to the scarcity of the marketplace, that creates, because there's so many writers, and there's even less of books to submit to, that has like one magazine's getting like 1,000 of people submitting. So they're just like, all right, reject, 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 form rejections constantly. um, and it makes it very difficult to actually like, oh wait, hold on, a lot of these stories are probably actually good, but they're getting rejected for maybe trivial reasons, or maybe they just didn't pitch well in their query. Maybe the title is not that good, but maybe the first sentence. This is something agents and publications do. Even like bigger, like more traditional ones. If they don't like the first sentence they read in your book, they'll throw it out, because they're facing this too. They're getting um, thousands upon thousands of writers constantly querying them, and they've got to like gatekeep the crap out of their industry to whatever they're trying to do, whatever fits what they want to publish. So because the increase of competition, you really have to stand out. And maybe that's something that I thought I was doing. Maybe, in my opinion, my story right now, I'm kind of like, maybe it's just too out there. Maybe it's a little too extreme. It's a horror story, but it does some stuff that some people find questionable. But I've noticed that in some of these stories, they're like, what we don't publish, and it's like a list of things authors used to get away with um, back before modern times. Now everyone's like in a safe space. This is kind of a bad example, but Stephen King can get away with anything, if you know what I'm talking about. Not that my story's about that at all, but he'd be able to write anything about whatever he wants. But if he was a indie or self-published author trying to get in the scene now, writing that stuff, it would never happen. Just for politics reasons, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of lines you have to, a lot of thin lines you have to walk, and It's crazy. Um, so, and then I guess my next few points is that in order for these guys, these publications to be profitable, they have to appeal to um, where the money's at, and they believe the money is in very niche sectors. So you might immediately think of themed stories, and that's pretty fair, right? Um, so maybe you'll have one anthology that's about vampires, or one anthology that's about mummies, or one anthology that's about serial killers, and that's not like unfair for a company that does anthologies to kind of do that or whatever. But then it's like, um, let me think, anthologies that are about stories that take place in Iowa, or and about certain like types of killings, or about anthologies that are inspired by bands and their song titles and things like that. I've seen these. I like it's insane. Um, I've seen anthologies that will only accept stories from people who identify as certain sexes or who live in certain areas. So it's completely cutting out um, like most of the population in the world, and it's insane. Like, just for example, I saw an anthology that said, and it was kind of weird. I almost got excited because they were, like I said, it's like, oh, they will only accept authors from within my state. And I was like, okay, that means the competition actually might be a little low, a little less, because I think I'm okay writer. And that means I don't have to deal with people in the other 49 states, right? But then it says, we're not paying you. Why would I submit? You're going to be making money off of me, and I'm not getting any of that. So those are two examples of what I'm talking about. Um, so there's like sex/location. There's very specific genres of genres. So it's like the more niche it becomes. So it's like a pyramid of, okay, horror at the top, and then at the second it's like vampire. Then it's like vampires in Egypt, and then it's like gay vampires in Egypt, and then it's like gay vampires in Egypt that can fly and take place in just one major city in Egypt or whatever. It's, I'm not trying to be discriminatory here, but I'm just saying that they're appealing to specific markets to get max profit. Um, that's kind of the state of the market as it is now. And also, I've noticed that word count, the acceptable word count, has gotten extremely lower for what a short story is. So I remember a couple years ago, what these most publications were saying was a short story would be around 6,000 to 8,000 words. You would see most of them say something like that. Nowadays, for most people I'm seeing, they're saying that the max they'll take is 5,000 words. And that's insane. I mean, the best writers can write a very good story in 5,000 words, sure. But it's very difficult to do that. So the story I'm doing now is like 6,600 words, and it's like, oh, I'm cut off by about 1,600, so I have to get it below that or something. And it's like I can't keep the same story and cut that much out. So, and they also, the pay has gotten, so they have less word count that's accepted, and they also pay less. You know, there used to be a time, if I'm remembering this correctly, where a short story was about less than 10,000, the max was 10,000 words, and the pay was way higher. The first publication deal I signed for a short story, I can't talk about it too much because it didn't work out in the end, but I was paid for it. I got paid $95 or $90, something like that. That is pretty high for a first time, or like a beginning author, just starting out, compared to what the market is today. So these are some issues regarding anthologies that I think would help you keep a lookout when you're out there submitting your story. You can ask yourself these questions: is it worth it when you want to submit and write these things? So I'm still going to give it a shot with my story that I have, but I'm not having a lot of success. I mean, whenever you send things to submit, it's always just like a wide, like a scatter shot. Don't ever, in my opinion, don't ever just submit to one and wait 3 months. Unless you sign some sort of deal that says, like a legal deal that says I will definitely like not do that, like simultaneously submit. I would advise you never do that. You have to act in your best interest when it comes to querying, and I would say, never mind, I'm not gonna say it. Anyways, that's what I think about this current status of my observations of the current status of the anthology and magazine business. It's not looking too good. It's not very healthy. Hopefully it gets better, but I think it's good practice for people, not just beginning writers. Actually, it's good practice to just continuously write stories, and if something sticks, something gets published, then it was probably worth it. You just have to see if the market is what you want. So take that for what you will. So if you guys would please check out my books in the link in the description below. That's what I do all this stuff for. I know I haven't released a video in a long time. This is probably my first video in a week or 2 weeks. I'm busy writing and editing. Maybe I'll make another video about that soon, telling you about what I'm doing. But please check out my books, like this, or like the Sakura Element, which was my latest book. But I would greatly appreciate if you check out my books. Have a great day. See you guys next time.